Hello YouTube, this is Nathan of the Kaijudo Guildmasters. Tried to do a box opening today, but there were some problems with the upload. Obviously I can't reopen the packs, so I'm going to try to record the video again, or at least show off some of the cards I got and discuss them. So, the random rare that came with the box was an Emperor Neuron. Really amazing that I got one of these like that. It is a evolution of Cyberlords, 3 for 5,000 power. He has the Master Tactician ability, which means he can't be blocked. And then he's also got the ability to extract data. Whenever this creature attacks, you may draw a card. Really good ability. I also got an Orion Radiant Fury. I see this card getting much better with the next pack. He is 9 for 10,500 power. He has Double Breaker, an ability called Laser Lances that says when he enters the battle zone you may tap up to 3 target creatures. And 3-headed, which is when this creature is banished, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put any number of non-evolution-like creatures among them into the battle zone, and the rest onto the bottom of your library, bottom of your deck, in any order. So, real nice card. The next of the supers I got a Flame Spike Tatsurian, evolution of Beefkin, Double Breaker, built to brawl. When battling with this creature, gets plus 6,000 power. So 14,000 power when battling. He's 6 mana. Really good card. Without combos, he can't be taken down in battle. I'm going to rely on cards like Hydra Medusa or Terror Pit or Root Trap to get rid of them. The last I got was a Tekkamura the Wretched, and that is an evolution of Chimera, 6 for 11,000 power, Double Breaker with Engulf, which says whenever this creature attacks, banish all creatures that are level 1. Okay, let's go through and find the very rares now that I got. So, but out of the cards I got right there, like I said, I got a Emperor Neuron. I really needed one of those. The Flame Spike is nice. That puts it where I now have 4 of them. So, probably going to be trying to trade that Flame Spike off real soon. That, or I'll just hold on to it to make the binder look nicer. There we go, there's one. There's another. There's another. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Okay. For the very rares, we have in fire 2 copies of Big Hissy. Dune Gecko evolution, Double Breaker, 5 for 6,000 power, with the ability 20-ton Wrecking Ball. You can attack untapped creatures. Nice ability. We don't see abilities like that get used much. The next we have is Lepidus the Ancient, 8 for 8,000 power, Double Breaker, with the ability Deafening Wing Beat. When one of your creatures wins a battle, choose one of your opponent's shields. That opponent puts it into his or her mana zone. So breaking shields without shield blast going off because it's going into mana, but it does speed your opponent up. Then we got a Screeching Scaredorable. This one is a 4 for 3,000 power with the ability Sonic Blast. When this creature enters the battle zone, choose target enemy creature. If it's level 2 or less, banish it, otherwise it can't block this turn. Really good ability, one of the cards that makes Blurple as aggressive as it is. Next we got a Forklift Tank, Gluurgle. Right now it's not a card that's used, but I do see potential for it in the future to work with what's known in other games as a mill deck, since his ability is when this creature attacks, you may have your opponent put the top card of his or her deck into his or her discard pile. If that card is a creature, return target enemy creature to your opponent's hand. If that card isn't a creature, draw a card. So the idea behind a mill deck is you make your opponent discard their entire deck and they lose because they have no deck. It's an interesting strategy you can play. Right now in Kaijudo there isn't enough of effects that can make that work. Your opponent's not going to deck out and you can't reliably win off that strategy right now. But with more cards in the future, that might be a possibility. So I'm really looking forward to see what comes out in the future. And when I see enough cards show up that give you effects along that line, I'll gladly make a deck and share it with you and let you know how it works. The last of my very rares was I got a Cobalt Storm Knight. He's a good card to match up with one of the new promos that they're coming out with for organized play because of his ability Grid Charged, which says when this creature enters the battle zone, you may put the top card of your deck into your shield zone face down as a new shield. The new Light Dragon for the organized play promos says that he gains an additional 6,000 power to put him at 12,000 power, and Triple Breaker as long as you have 5 or more shields. So Cobalt as well is an evolution creature off of Enforcers, and he as well is a double breaker. So for rares, what did I get? Sorry, this video is not as organized as I would like it to be, but I would have preferred the original video to be posted. I don't like that I'm having to remake this video, but had some problems and it would not post originally. But still want to get the information out to you viewers, so like I said, this video is for y'all. Please enjoy, and please comment down below after watching the video on anything you have discussing cards that I discussed in this video, and hopefully the next time I do something like this, the video will be able to post the first time. I won't have to go back and redo it. Yeah, I found out after I went to post it that I had to increase the amount of time that I'm allowed to post videos for. So, did not know that ahead of time, and if I would have done it before even trying to make the video. Also explains why a couple of the videos in the past would not post when I thought they did, so explains the previous problem with technological errors. So I'm sorry, YouTube fans, but I do have the problem fixed, or at least the fix in the works, and hoping that we will not have to encounter such problems in the future. Go through, go through, go through. Almost have them all. There we go. I have all my rares now. Okay. So, let's go ahead and divide this up by civilization. Make it a bit easier to discuss the cards. Not only that, you can go ahead and see the number of copies of a single card that I got here. Okay, there we go. And we'll just discuss the civilizations and where I've got them on my hands here. So starting off, the first card I have for my rares here is I got 2 copies of Lava Leaper. It's a real good card for Fire Rush because he's 2 for 1,000 power with an ability called Rocket Jump. This creature can't be attacked by creatures that have 3,000 power or less. So the point behind this guy is you play him on turn 2, turn 3 you attack with him, and your opponent's not going to have that many answers on turn 3 that are creature-wise. He's going to have to rely on spells to get rid of him until he can summon something that's at least 4,000 power or 3,500. And not many decks are going to be able to do that, so he's good for getting a couple initial shields. The only problem with this is he can still be blocked, so do watch out for your opponent's blockers. The next thing I have here is I got 2 Twin Cannon Maelstroms. This card works good with another rare that I got in here that I'll be discussing later on down the line. His ability is extra cannons. All other creatures have power attack plus 2,000. Finally, for fire, I got a Blast Forge Captain. Really good Dracon. He's a Dracon Evolution. 5 for 4,000 power. And his ability is when he attacks, banish any number of target creatures that have total power 4,000 or less. So, good for mass removal of the small creatures. He gets rid of a lot of your blockers so that you can keep pushing through. Really good for a rush deck. Next, we'll go on to nature. The first card I have here for you is I got 2 Forset Heroic Shamans. 5 for 7,000 power Double Breaker with an ability called Focused Anger. He can't attack creatures. So really, he's just a fast to get to Double Breaker. He's got good power for the fact that he's a Double Breaker. Other than that, he doesn't really have anything special going for him. It is a hindrance that he can't attack creatures, but he's a good card in decks like Mono Nature that needs that aggression really fast. The next we have is Granite Avenger. I have not seen this card in play. I haven't even put it in a deck yet. He's not really that special. He's 7 mana for an 8,000 power Double Breaker. He's good in his own right, but generally there's a better card to put in the slot you'd want to put him in. Next we have is Tendril Grass, one of the better cards in the set, seeing as it's mass removal for nature. It's a Shield Blast, 6 cost, that says put all creatures that are level 3 or less from the battle zones into the owner's mana zones. So do watch out, this card can hurt you, and it's also going to speed up any person that it removes creatures from, seeing as it does send them to the mana zone, but it gets rid of a lot of pesky creatures. A lot of times it can stop your opponent from winning the game when they go to swing in for the game, because you'll take out so many of their creatures that we're going to be attacking that turn. Blurple really suffers against it because a lot of the non-evolution cards or finisher cards are level 3 or less. A lot of that deck can be hit from Tendril Grass. Going into our darkness section, first card we have is Chimera Tyrant, and I got 2 of the Tyrants. He's 4 for 6,000 power Double Breaker with an ability Unstable, and that's whenever he wins a battle, banish it. This creature isn't that great in the current meta, but with the next pack, one of the cards coming out, it really hurts Blurple. It's going to make Blurple harder to play, and that's Infernus the Awakened, because his ability says when he enters play, banish target creature with 4,000 power or less. He does the same thing when he attacks, but his last ability is the part that's going to hurt Blurple, and it's the fact that your opponent cannot summon any creature with 4,000 power or less. So most of Blurple's bait is 4,000 power or less. I can't really think of any that are above that you would actually use as bait on a regular basis. But Chimera Tyrant here is a pretty cheap card that does fit in that over 4,000 power for Chimeras. So we might see him, after the next set gets played, seeing a lot more play. The next card we have is Return from Beyond. Now, this card can actually make Chimera Tyrant a bit better, seeing as it can go and get Chimera Tyrant back from your graveyard. It can also be used with a bunch of other cards to make them better. It's really good in Darkness deck because what it does is Shield Blast for 4, and it's you put one non-evolution card from your discard pile that's level 4 less into the battle zone. So you go, you get bait back. You go and get a blocker back to stop your opponent from continuing to hit on, like Scared Orb of Gloom Hollow. You go and you get cards with come into play effects like Rusalka. So it comes into play, and then you send a creature back to the hand. It can really just stop your opponent's ability to swing for game. Or your opponent can attack you, hit this, and it just sets you up so now you have an answer for the card they just played. Like, for example, I want to attack you, hit your shield, it's a Return from Beyond, and you're playing Blurple. You go back and get your Gigabolver, for example, bring it into play. I end my turn now, you play your mana, tap your mana out, and play your Hydra Medusa on top of the Gigabolver. Kill a creature of mine, attack the creature I just attacked with to hit the shield, and then you've just stabilized because I hit your shield and gave you the bait you needed for that Hydra Medusa. The next card we have is Olgate. This card combos with cards like Chimera Tyrant because of his ability, Necrocharge. When one of your creatures is banished, untap this creature. So you attack with him, attack with something else, that card gets banished from its ability, or you use it to attack another creature of equal power and kill them both. Either way, you want your creature that's attacking to do what it's supposed to do, get banished because of that, because then it's going to untap Olgate, so Olgate can attack again. Other than that, he's a 6-cost creature for 5,000 power. Next, we're going into Water. The first card I have for Water for you is a finisher card, and that is King Neptus. His ability, Spike Shell, says this creature can't be the target of your opponent's spells or abilities. So, effectively what you're going to want to do with him is you attack with your other creatures, and then you use him as the card to attack for gain. And the reason for this is you're going to attack, break your shields, and each time they hit a shield blast, they can't target him with a shield blast. So the only shield blast that really harms you when he's attacking, there's two. There's a Return from Beyond, which you can go get him a blocker so that he can't swing for game because they'll block it instead. The other thing is they have Storm Spark Blast. And Storm Spark Blast is going to tap all your creatures because that does not target. It will stop him, but that's only delaying for a turn, and there's the only way your opponent can answer him is to attack him with a creature of equal or greater power once he's been tapped. So not a lot of answers for him. Next we have is a Neurons Oracle. Currently not really any uses for this card, and it's going to be really hard to find a use for him because his ability is when he enters the battle zone, look at the top card on each player's deck. Now, seeing as he only allows you to look, not move it anywhere, it's really going to have a lot of trouble with this card because there's not a lot you can do with him. He is a Cyberlord, so he does work for the Cyberlord engine, but really he's just a 3 mana for 2,000 power. Last card we got for Waters, we got 2 copies of Aquatic Expulsion. Not a lot of uses for this card at the moment either. 6 cost Shield Blast. Return 2 creatures that are level 3 or less from the battle zone to the owner's hand. So not a lot you can do with that. But it is an interesting card. When the meta switches to a more low cost of a lot of 3 or less creatures, then I could see a lot of people playing multiple copies of it, but right now I don't see anyone playing it. Recharge is the next card I got. Another card that's going to work really well when organized play comes out if anyone tries to play the new Light Dragon. Because this is a 4-cost spell that puts the top card of your deck face down into your shields. So just a card to keep him where he's going to stay at being that triple breaker with 12,000 power. Next we have Shock Sentinel. It's nice if you're playing in a deck that's heavy on evolutions, because what it does is when one of your evolutions enters the battlefield, you tap a creature. So the idea behind him is you have him in play your evolution, you tap an opponent's creature, you have that evolution or something else that was already in play, attack that tapped creature now so you can get rid of it, and continue to push your aggression forward. Good way to keep field control, so pretty good. And now the card that's going to reference back to that Twin Cannon Maelstrom we had earlier. We have Twilight Commander. I've made a deck based around him in the past. He's got good ability. He's really useful. His ability is Rally. Whenever this creature attacks, untap a creature that has less power than him. He's 5 for 5,000 power. The idea is you have 2 Twilight Commanders. You attack with Twilight Commander while Twin Cannon Maelstrom is in play to either attack a creature, break a shield, doesn't matter. Then you attack with the second Twilight Commander. First power attack goes off to take him from 5,000 power to 7,000. That's important because then Rally activates. You pick one creature with less power than him. Because the first Twilight Commander is not attacking, you can target that Twilight Commander, untap him, and then you kill the creature you were attacking, or you break the shield. Now you have that first Twilight Commander back untapped, so you can attack with him. He gets the power boost again. You can now target the Twilight Commander that just untapped him to untap. And the combo just keeps repeating until either A, you win the game, B, your opponent hits the shield that actually stops you. That's really the only thing it can end with, because you have 2 creatures that are going to continue to attack until something stops them. That was it for my rares. And of course I got all the commons and uncommons. I'm just going to go through and address a few of the commons and uncommons, just some cards that might actually see get played on a regular basis. Or some cards that you haven't seen get played yet, but they have potential in certain decks. And we'll go ahead and discuss those, what they do, and then we'll finish up this video and call it a night. So most of what I'm pulling out here is uncommons. There are some commons I'd like to discuss, but there are not many of them in here. But of my commons and my uncommons, I definitely got at least a playset of everything I opened, and see a lot of cards that didn't show up when I wanted to. But even if I didn't get a playset in here, I already have some. I already had bought up in the past a box of Evo Fury, so I'm not. It was more for the rares, very rares, and super rares. But not all of you out there know the pack so well, know the cards in it. So we'll go ahead and discuss those cards, give you an idea of some of the cards that are in the pack, some of the cards that are being used as tech cards in decks, or some cards that you really want to consider if you're trying to play a certain style of deck. And one of the big things that I want to address with these cards are the mono civilization decks, because this pack started giving us some cards that gain benefits if you're playing a single civilization by having abilities that say these creatures gain this, and this, as long as all the cards in your mana zone are of this civilization, and they are Heart of abilities. So the first one we're going to address is Silverfist. He is the Heart of Nature creature. So usually he's a 5 for 4,000 power. You're not going to use him unless it's a mono nature deck, because that's where he shines. And his ability in mono nature is while all cards in your mana zone are nature cards, this creature gets plus 4,000 power and double breaker. So for mono nature, you have a 5 for 8,000 power double breaker. He makes mono nature worth playing. Let's find. Here we go. Here's the one for darkness. Scavenging Chimera fits into the Chimera bait section really well for Hydra Medusa or Tekimura. And his Heart of Darkness ability is while all cards in your mana zone are darkness, he gets plus 2,000 power, and has whenever this creature attacks, choose a creature in your discard pile and return it to your hand. So go get back a lot of those darkness creatures that die when they do things. But other than that, he's a 2 for 3,000 power, so you get a good benefit from that. The next one that we have is we have the one for Mono Light, and that is Prism Blade Enforcer. And his is, he gets plus 2,000 power and blocker. So you get he'll become a 3,500 power blocker that doesn't have any ability that prevents him from attacking shields. Next we have the one for fire, which is Dracon Warchief. And he gains fast attack and power attack plus 2,000. So he's a 4 for 3, that's a fast attack, and when he attacks he's 4 for 5. The last we have is the one for water, which is already a blocker and has guard, but his ability gives him plus 3,000 power, and whenever he blocks, you may draw cards. So he becomes a 3-cost 6,000 power blocker. Now I'm going to go ahead and discuss a few of the evolutions that came out in the pack. I have one for each of the civilizations. First we have Hydra Medusa, one of the key cards in Blurple. She's a Chimera evolution, and her ability Eradicate: when this creature enters the battle zone, banish target enemy creature. So you play her and then Terror Pit. At 5 for 5,000 power, that's really good because you're doing Terror Pit for cheaper. You just need to have a Chimera already in play, which is pretty easy to do. Or on turn 6 you can play Gigabolver straight into her. So there's a lot of good cards to do. Next we have Halon, Paragon of Light. He's really good in the Mono Light build because in Mono Light this gives you an evolution off of Enforcers that's 8,000 power double breaker. Not a lot can deal with that in the game right now. You have Flame Spike Tatsurian that can attack him. You have, of course, Root Trap, Terror Pit. You can use Hydra Medusa's ability against him. Other than that, you don't have many cards that can get rid of them. So, really good card in the Mono Light build. Next we have Bronze Arm Sabertooth. He's one of the key cards in Saberbolt because he's going to increase your mana to the points so that you can play your Bolt Tail Dragons by making your opponent have to deal with him. And what he is he's a evolution off Beastkin with Double Breaker, and his ability is 1 with Nature. If this creature would be banished, you put him into your mana zone instead. So 4 for 7,000 power. The Double Breaker makes them a card that generally your opponent has to deal with. And when they do, they're just going to get you faster to what you're trying to do. The next one we have is the one from Fire, and that's Laser Arm Dragon. And the Laser Arm here is an amazing card for Rush for Fire, because you have a evolution off Dragons that is 4,000 power with power attack 2,000, and he double breaks. So you can have a double breaker on turn 3. Very powerful. The last card we have is Emperor Axton, which gives you a bit of rush and water. 4 for a 6,000 power double breaker. Evolves off Cyber Lords, which is a popular thing to evolve off of for water. Now let's just go into some of these more interesting cards that you won't see that often, but they are good cards and builds that what they're designed to do. Now, I talked earlier on Forklift Tank. This is the only other card in the game right now that lets you start working towards a deck that's going to get rid of your opponent's deck, and that is Slick. When he attacks, you can have your opponent put the top card of their deck into their discard pile. 3 for 2,000 power. So he doesn't. You're not getting enough ability off of this to really stop your opponent. You might get a couple cards here and there, and that just might be enough to throw their game off. But there's not enough out right now to really use that as a win strategy. And only one card here and there, it's never going to be enough. You need cards that are hitting multiples of your opponent's cards. So if you're trying to just get rid of some cards off your deck and mess up your opponent's game, Forklift Tank is the better, because you're going to get benefits off those cards as well. He's also a little bit harder to get rid of, even though he's more late game. But maybe in the future we'll see cards that make this a playable strategy. The next we have is a card that's going to be seen in any mono white build, and that is Cloud Walker Drone. 2 for 1,500 power. But his ability says, while you have another Enforcer in the battle zone, this creature gets plus 1,000 power. He's an Enforcer himself, so he works for the current light evolutions, and it's really just a nice, strong guy at lower mana at 2,500 for 2. Not a lot competes with that right now. Next we have is Cliff Cutter, which you will see in the Rush decks that include Fire, and he says, while you have an evolution creature in your battle zone, this creature gets plus 2,000 power. So he's a 2 for 3,000 while you have an evolution creature. Good with cards like we saw earlier, the Laser Arm Dracon or Blast Forge Captain, because they're going to make him stronger, and it's really just there for Rush. And now we're going to address the other Fire Rush card that came out in this pack, and that is Jet Thrust Darter. 1,000 power for 3 mana, but he's a fast attacker. That's really the main thing about him, is the fact that he's a fast attacker. Take those shields when your opponent's not expecting it. Make it where you can swing for game when your opponent doesn't think you have the ability to. The next thing we have is Snapclaw. And he's just an interesting card for decks that play heavy on Evos, because his ability Evo Might makes all your evolution creatures 2,000 power stronger. So, not really any build you'll see him in right now, but you might see him in the occasional fun build just to make those evolution creatures harder to get rid of. Now we're going to go into the cards that you'll see in a good amount of decks that came out with this pack. We'll start with Nature. And the two cards we have are Prickleback and Reapinzo. Prickleback is a good early aggression. His hidden run ability makes it where after he breaks a shield, you return him to your hand. And at 1 mana, he's really good bait, because you can go on turn 5, 1 mana, Prickleback, 4 mana, Bronze Arm Sabertooth, or later on in the game, turn 7, you can go 1 mana, Prickleback, 6 mana, Flame Spike Tatsurian. So he's just a nice, easy bait that you can throw down in a ball immediately in the same turn. Next card's Reap and Sow. You'll see it in a lot of nature decks that don't include water, because it gives you a little bit of draw power, sort of. And what you're doing is you're looking at the top 2 cards of your deck. You put one of them into your hand, and the other into your mana zone. So, let you choose what you're getting rid of, and at the same time, it's giving you more cards to your hand to use to win the game. Speeds you up. All in all, really good card. Next, we have Heat Seekers. You'll see this in the control decks, and it's just a 3-cost card that banishes a creature with 3,000 power or less. You play it on turn 3 when your opponent went first, then went turn 3 and goes Aqua Seneschal, Gigastan, Razor Hide, Shock and Awe, Little Hissy. These 3-cost cards that your opponent generally relies on, any 3-cost creature that your opponent generally relies on that's 3,000 power or less, you get rid of it turn 3, but I mean the big ones are the Razor Hide, the Aqua Seneschal, and the Gigastan. These are the ones you really have to worry about, and they're the ones that you're going to target with this. It's also good later on in the game when your opponent goes, I want to summon Scared Orbital Gloom Hollow. You just go ahead and Heat Seekers it, it gets rid of it, you can deal, and you can continue to swing through it. It's really good for just taking out blockers in that late game. The next card we have is Gigabolver. You're going to see this in a lot of purple builds, and really any darkness deck that runs the Chimera engine, because he's a 1-cost Chimera, so you can go straight into Hydra Medusa when you have 6 mana. You go 1, play him, 5, play Hydra Medusa, kill something with Hydra Medusa's ability, and either attack a shield or attack a tapped creature. Last, we have 2 water cards. We have Cyber Trader and Cyber Sprite, both of which are Cyber Lords. They're both general bait for the Emperor Neuron. Cyber Sprite is just a 2,000 power blocker with guard for 1, and Cyber Trader is a good card because he's going to let you dig through your deck for your cards, and that's because his ability Idea Exchange. When he enters the battle zone, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So, all in all, good creature. Uses ability Dig to get to that Emperor Neuron. So you play him turn 2, draw, hopefully get that Emperor Neuron. So it's turn 3, you evolve straight into that Emperor Neuron and put those threats immediately on the table, and continue to draw cards and make your hand better. Well, thank you for watching, Kaijudo fans. Please comment on the cards you saw today. Leave comments here. Discuss anything that you may agree or disagree with what was said. Any questions you have, leave them here. We've got tournaments starting over at the Portsmouth Atlantis Games and Comics, starting this Saturday. We're looking to have the start time around 2 o'clock, and we're going to try to make this a weekly tournament. We've got tournaments currently going on over at Comic Kings over in Virginia Beach by Mount Trashmore on Sundays around noon. And we're hoping with the organized play to start getting in some bigger crowds, start giving out some better prizes. Well, carry on, Kaijudo fans. Look forward to discussing more with you. I might be putting up a deck profile later tonight. Also, for future news, I'm going to be starting in the near future my own card of the week videos, and start discussing some of the cards that don't really get discussion, or some cards that really benefit decks and how they help your deck. So, do along, Kaijudo fans, and look forward to seeing you next time.